Welcome guys, in this video we're going to be comparing the G29 Logitech racing wheel and the G27 Logitech racing wheel. The G27 comes with the pedal set, of course, the racing wheel and this 6-speed shifter with the controls on the bottom, or on the top rather, and the G29 comes with again the racing wheel with the controls on the wheel, the pedal set and the 6-speed shifter without the controls. The way I'm going to do this video is by comparing each of the similar components. So I'll compare the two sets of pedals, then the two sets of wheels, and then obviously the two shifters. Okay, so let's start with the wheels themselves. So on the left we've got the G27. So the G27 has got the leather outing and this kind of stainless steel, I suppose, inner bit. And it has 3 buttons on the right, 3 buttons on the left. That's nothing in the middle, that's just the logo. You've got the 2 paddle shifters behind, and then you've got the casing itself with the clamps. And on the bottom you've got the plugins for the different accessories, and you've also got adjustments for putting that into some kind of stand. On the G29, very similar, so it's got your same leather outing. It's got this slightly darker brushed looking, I guess again sort of like a stainless steel plate. The main differences here is that instead of having just the 6 buttons on the back, on the front, sorry, it's got this whole face of buttons. So if anyone remembers the Driving Force GT that Logitech did, very similar setup to that. They've just integrated this into the metal frame in the middle. So you've got your X, circle, triangle, square for PlayStation and your D-pad on the left. You've got R2 and L2 and L3 and R3, which are just little clicky buttons. Okay. The middle again is just nothing, but you've got a PlayStation logo instead of the Logitech logo because this is one of the official PlayStation wheels. You've got the RA function wheel and middle button, and you've got a plus and minus, and then at the bottom you've also got PlayStation functionality buttons. So you've got the PlayStation button itself, the options button and the share button there. They've just made a few design changes, so the leather stitching itself is just slightly different to on the G27. Additionally, they've flattened the bottom of the wheel for that kind of racing car aesthetic, and they've also added like a blue metal strip around the top, I suppose, so you can just make sure you're centered. I forgot to mention both of these have rev limiter light LED lights along the top there. The shifters on this one exactly the same as on the G27, just behind the 2 metal levers. The casing itself is actually identical to the G27 with your 2 table adjustment grips, and on the underside, don't play if you're a baby, you've got your plugins and you've got your screw-in points for if you're mounting this. So overall they're very similar wheels. Okay, the belt itself is identical, I believe, so I think this one on the G27 is marginally quieter only because I've used this one a little bit more, but I think they have the exact same belt and mechanism inside. The main difference is that this is originally a PC wheel that worked for the PlayStation as well, whereas this one is specifically designed for the PlayStation 4, but will also work on PC. Okay, aesthetically slightly different. This one's a kind of black and red look. This one's more of a black and blue look. Looks a little bit smarter, but I do have some criticisms of this one. So the first one being mainly for when you're using this with PlayStation, when you're using Gran Turismo or whatever, a lot of the time you'll just want to hit the options button, which is your start or your pause button, okay? And that being a tiny little button right in between share and the PlayStation button, when you're driving here, to kind of get your finger on that little button, you know, especially when you've got force feedback going, what, you know, you've just crashed and you just need to pause it or something, you know, and this is spinning around and you're trying to get that button, that's quite tricky. And a lot of the time I end up hitting share or PlayStation, which obviously takes you out to a different menu, which is a little bit annoying. Also with Gran Turismo, they've ditched the RA functions for a slightly different menu system, so that this middle button is actually completely useless and doesn't do anything. You can bind it to something else, but this feature is sort of semi-lost for Gran Turismo. I do, however, like the additions of these buttons, although I will say, when you're actually racing, kind of from there, like my thumbs, I've got fairly big hands, like I can't really comfortably reach them. They really need to be just here. What's great about the G27 is when you're here, these are, you know, right easily within reach. Okay, even when you're shifting, you know, you can get all those. Whereas on the 29, you can kind of just about get the left, maybe up and down on there and circle. But actually these, okay, these ones are a little better, but these ones are just too far, and these ones even, you have to really adjust your grip. So actually I feel like they didn't put all these buttons in the best place, and perhaps they could have just brought these ones out a little bit, and these ones maybe a little bit closer up, or even brought this one somehow up into this space so that you could get that, you know, from there. But it's kind of, you have to really shift your grip to get those buttons there. One final note for both wheels is they both have identical 900-degree rotation, so that's the complete left lock there. There's one rotation, two rotations, and half a rotation, and it's the same for the 27. So you got one full rotation, two rotations, and then the half for 900 degrees on both of them. Moving on to the pedals then, very, very similar in design. The moulding for the sets are actually identical on these, exactly the same pedals. They've used slightly different colour bolt-ins, but otherwise exactly the same. And again, aesthetically, just slightly different on the spring retainers. Okay, the red ones on the G27, black ones on the 29. The pedals themselves, start with the underside. So you've got, again, attachment points for bolting this into something, and you've got a carpet grip on the top which you can fold away or release, which is just a spiky carpet grip. Exactly the same on the G27. The pedals themselves on the accelerator, they are exactly the same. Identical pedals, identical springs, and spring rates on those. So those are literally exactly the same. When we come to the brake, however, they have changed it up. So on the G29, it actually only depresses about 50% of the way, at which point there's a rubberized block behind the spring. So when you get to there, that's full depression, and if I show you from the other side, you can see that that's only going about halfway down, and there you get this kind of spongy ending, which is a little bit kind of realistic feeling. You get that kind of squeezy bit on the end, okay, where it's a little bit stiff, okay, but the fully activated pedal is about there. Anything after that into that rubber block is actually not helping on braking. Okay, that's just for feel. Alrighty, on the G27, same kind of pressure. Okay, so it's same weight to the pedal, but this one goes all the way back. Okay, so you're not fully braking until that's all the way back. And if I spin that around, you can see that that's going all the way down. Okay, to the very bottom. The clutches, again, identical on both. Okay, same rates, and they both go right to the base. Alrighty, the only other difference, they've just changed the logo on there. But so the main difference there with the brake, okay? So the brake on the G29 has this rubber block, which you can remove. However, if you remove it, the sensor still only goes halfway. So if you remove that rubber block, it'll depress all the way down just like on this set. However, when you get to the halfway point, you'll be braking fully. So there's not really a lot of point to taking that out unless you just really don't like the feel of it. Finally, we're going to look at the shifters here. So the one, I've actually got these the other way around, confusingly. So the one on the left is the G27. The one in the box on the right is for the G29. I actually very, very rarely use the shifter, so it's actually still boxed and sealed, so I'm keeping it like that for now, as I may not actually use it, and then I can obviously sell it on if it's still boxed up and new. The G27, the shifter comes with the set. With the G29, it's an optional extra purchase, so it doesn't come with it. I happened to get it because there was a bundle deal for an extremely good price, and it only you only got the deal with the shifter, and it was actually cheaper to buy it with the shifter than without, crazily enough. So you can find some good deals with that included. However, because they've included most of the functionality into the wheel rather than into the shifter, it's not essential. Only if you like having that manual shifter do you need to actually buy that one. So starting with the G27 shifter then, since we can actually have a look at this one. Okay, you've got attachment points for your table grip. It's also got mounting points underneath. You've got the cable obviously that attaches into the wheel. The shifter itself, you've got the buttons, so you've got your kind of 4 main buttons there, 4 buttons along the bottom, and a D-pad there, that's a little power indicator. And then the stick shift is a 6-speed, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you've got reverse, so it's press down, out to the right. I think it's out to the right. Yeah, out to the right and into reverse. Okay. The G29 is actually identical to basically this half. If you just cut that off, that's what the G29 one is. So you just have a random logo thing that doesn't actually do anything. I don't know why they even have that on there. And then you've got your same 6-speed shifter. It really is exactly the same in all other ways, except from without having that on there. As far as the actual wheels go when you're driving them, they are almost absolutely identical. As I said, they have the same motors in the backs there, so they drive exactly the same. Okay, the main difference, as I said, is that this one includes the PlayStation functionality of having your PlayStation option and share buttons, having all the buttons in the face there, so you don't need the shifter at all. Whereas with the G27, of course, you've only got the 6 face buttons, so having these extra set is actually quite important. The other thing is that this no longer works with PlayStation 4s. So this works with PlayStation 3 and PC. This one works with PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 and PC as well. To summarise, I'm not that impressed with the G29. I think that it's, generally speaking, it should have been an upgrade for the G27, in the sense that it's kind of the next generation. It's obviously quite a few years younger than the G27, so they could have put kind of newer technology into it, but they seemingly have just kind of repackaged the G27 for PlayStation 4 users. I'm a little disappointed with the buttons. They're not very well laid out. It's nice to have them. Having the plus minus functionality and the scroll wheel, at least for Gran Turismo Sport, is really, really useful. So I'm glad that they have that on there. However, they just should have laid that out much easier to use from when you're actually using the wheel itself. The G27, kind of a mainstay of PC sim racing really. These buttons are really easy to access. And the thing I like about all Logitech stuff is that you get really good bang for your buck. So I did have a look into the Thrustmaster wheels when I was looking to upgrade, obviously, for the PS4 wheel. And for the same price as the G29, you get something that seems considerably less worth the money. So whilst they make some really good wheels, you have to pay probably twice the price for that. So what I really like about both of these wheels is that you can pick them up relatively cheap. They're both around the £200 mark. They don't actually make the G27 anymore, so you'll have to pick that one up off eBay or Amazon or somewhere like that. And second hand, you can probably get them for £150 or your equivalent. The G29, you can probably get around £190, £200 mark without the shifter. The shifter itself new is about £40, so you're looking, if you want the whole set, for perhaps £200 to £250. As I said, I got this on a good deal with all of it for I think £210 brand new. So, but that was on a flash sale sort of thing. I imagine these are quite hard to find brand new now, so you'll have to look on eBay for boxed ones that are still going. All in all, if you want something for the PS4, you might as well, leave this one behind, go for the G29. However, if you're looking for something good for PC racing or something along those lines, the G27 really is fantastic wheel and kind of a tried and tested favourite. So, as I said, if you like having the functionality on the wheel, this one's great, although just not very well designed. G27, less things going on here, but it's nice and simple, and again, you've got the buttons that you need down here on the shifter if you need them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and leave a comment. If you've got any questions regarding either of these two wheels, do let me know in the comments below. I tend to reply to pretty much everything, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Hey Jack. Jack, which wheel do you like best? Yeah. He plays Forza. Yeah, look at that face.